Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 41 of the Comic Room Podcast. I'm your host, Spro, and with me is Mr. Longbox.
Hey.
This is our last in-person episode for like the next month-ish, so maybe a little bit longer than a month.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be doing like Zoom type. We have, aside from news today, we have no MCU to talk about or DC to talk about in the main. So we're just going to be talking comics. Be fun. We got our head scratchers and our sleepers. Don't know how long that'll take, but if we want to ramble, then we'll ramble. So
Yeah.
And it won't matter how long because it's only a one camera setup today. So it's just chopping the ends off and then uploading it to YouTube.
Smooth.
So the reason for that is because it's Mother's Day tomorrow. So I don't want to feel the pressure to have to edit a full podcast.
That's right.
While celebrating
Everybody's
Mother's
got
Day.
mom.
So yeah. If you like this content, give this a like. Mm-hmm. Give this channel a subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified every time, whether it's a podcast being uploaded or a new video. I just uploaded a video the other day called, I changed the title last night actually. It's Can ChatGPT buy comics for me? Wait, what did I change it to? This is very huge brain of me. Can ChatGPT help me buy comics? This was my WinterCon 2025 experience. I asked ChatGPT for a recommendation, and it gave me a recommendation, so I had to spend my time looking for it.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a cool idea.
Yeah, and so that book is actually my show and tell today. So if you don't want spoilers, you want to go see the video, link is in the description. Go watch the video, and then you can come back. I'm not sure if this is going to be uploaded or if this is going to be live by this episode or next episode, but I'm going to start a Comic Room Pod YouTube channel. So like its own YouTube channel. And there I'm going to upload like, instead of like the full podcast, like hour and a half, I'm just going to upload like our main conversation. So like no show and tell, no news, just the main topics. That's normally like 30 to 45 minutes.
Yep.
So if that's live by the time this comes out, again, kind of depends how tomorrow looks, Mother's Day looks for me. But that link will be in the description. If not, it'll for sure be up by the time the next episode is live. And I'll slowly be uploading like archive kind of footage from our past episodes and cutting and uploading there. And then the idea is to maybe migrate the podcast to there if it makes sense. But for now, the podcast is going to stay here for the foreseeable future. And then those highlight clips will go over there.
Okay.
But if that channel like takes off and it starts doing its thing and like it's more popping than this channel, then it'll make more sense to move everything over there. So
all right, sounds good.
yeah. So look in the description for that. Audio listeners, I totally forgot to upload last week's episode.
Oh no.
The audio. So
sorry guys.
That'll be up. Last week's episode will be up for you. I think. Oh shoot. It depends if I deleted the footage off my PC or not. If I deleted the footage, I can't upload. I can't export to MP3. If I didn't delete the footage, then I'll export to MP3, and you guys will get 2 episodes this week. So
yeah, you just have to. If you delete the footage, you have to watch YouTube and record it with an old tape recorder.
Yeah. All right, that's it. I think. Am I missing anything?
Nope.
All right. Show and tell time.
Yeah, let's do it.
Why don't you kick us off?
Okay. My show and tell is the next installment of one of my major goals. I didn't necessarily say complete this goal this year, but it was one of the things I was going to continue to pursue this year, and that is the Golden Age Catwoman covers. And as you know, I've been collecting them quite aggressively in the last couple of months. Expensively and aggressively, though. That's the problem. But because these are not cheap, they're not just Golden Age Catwoman covers, they're Golden Age Batmans. So right there. But this one, this is the latest edition, and this is Batman issue number 62.
Heck yeah, baby!
In a CGC 4.0, and what was, even though I say I'm not really interested in page quality, I really have to respect a white pager from the Golden Age, and that is a white pager.
Beautiful.
This one is special because it's the origin. It's the origin of Catwoman, and her third Golden Age cover. So essentially her third appearance, third cover appearance. Here, check it out. So yeah, that one is. It's funny because I as I looked at all the Golden Age Catwoman covers, and there are only 8. I would have told you that that's the cover I like the least of them all.
Which is crazy.
I know, because now that I have it in my hands, I love the cover. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I didn't really appreciate the color gradient aspect of how pretty it was until it was in my hands. But that's not unusual. Happens a lot with comic books, especially older ones. Because I've only ever seen them about the size of a stamp, but having it in your hand, large enough. So I think it's Will Mortimer? Is that the cover?
Yeah, Win Mortimer.
Win Mortimer is the artist, and he's a classic Golden Age artist. So I'm happy with the cover after all, and but especially happy with the addition of this one to the collection, because now I have a couple more that you're aware of because you're pressing them for me right now. That are going to go to CGC, maybe even while I'm gone.
Yeah,
just depends. That leaves me with only. Well, it depends on how you measure it. I'll say it this way. At most, only 3 Golden Age Catwoman covers left to acquire.
Dang.
One of them, and I'm not gonna try to remember the numbers right now because my numbers are going through my head right now in weird ways because of things I've been doing and at the end of the semester. So I'm not gonna try to remember issue numbers. But except for Tech 122, because that's her first appearance, cover appearance. And that's the one where she's scratching Robin on the shoulder. It's that yellow cover. Everybody knows it. I do own that book, but it's coverless, which is very ironic considering. But I got a facsimile cover on top, so I don't think that counts. So I don't consider that that's I've checked that particular box, but. That's going to be a really hard one to check because it's really expensive.
Yeah.
But it's not that much more expensive than 42, which I do own, Batman 42. Anyway, but then there's 2 other ones. One is got the first appearance of the King of Cats. If you're wondering about it, it's up for sale on, I think, Ali Collectibles right now.
Yeah, and it's like a 6.0 or 6.5.
Yeah, I think, in fact, it sold. Somebody claimed it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a 6.0 for like $900, which is really, really good price.
Yeah.
But I had just bought this one, so you sent it to me. I said, it's just terrible timing for me. I can't, which one would I rather have? You might argue, well, the 6.0, but this is more valuable because it's her origin.
And it's her name reveal.
Yeah, Selena Kyle. That's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
It's a really big deal. And then the other one was a very familiar one. It's Batman 65. I did just remember it's the one where Batman and Robin are in the front and they're looking at file cabinets, and then you have the big face of Catwoman behind, and that one also, because the iconic cover is a little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
But those are that's it. And I do have that King of Cats one. This is weird. I have the 8 pages of the story, just loose leaf. I bought it on eBay for like $35. But the splash page is really cool. The splash page looks almost identical to the cover. So I've got a couple placeholders for I've got 2 placeholder versions for the 3 remaining, but I've got now 5 of the 8.
Wow.
And I had none when I started this quest at the start of the year. So I probably shouldn't buy another comic the rest of the year based on how much money I spent. But anyway, but like I said, it's not just Catwoman covers. These are really nice Golden Age Batman and Tech books. So, never going to be sad to have those in a collection.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, what a beautiful book. Yeah. I like that one. I was pushing you to get it because if you weren't going to get it, I think I might have gotten it.
He was saying to me, "You need this book," and then I think you said, "Are you gonna?" You asked me kind of straight up, "Are you gonna offer it?" Or are you gonna? And then I figured I can't let this guy get it. That'll just kill me.
See, I'm not a Catwoman collector. I own 1 Golden Age book, so I'm not chasing after these books. But I love the cats on this cover, and it's a white pager, so it's it would have been hard in general to pass up. But I wasn't gonna snipe it from him.
No, I
gave him 2-3 weeks.
Oh, yeah, it was a long time. That book actually surprisingly stayed for sale for a while, and that one was on Elite.
Yeah, and I think that was going for the initial price was like $11.99, right? And then it kept dropping.
He kept dropping it by 100 like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And then I finally made an offer and there's just a counter offer and that was that, you know.
Oh,
so
light work.
It was, and then the bill came. No, it's okay. I wouldn't have if it was an irresponsible buy, I wouldn't have done it. But following that up with the King of Cats cover, that would have been so. And I think that's Batman 69. If I'm not mistaken. I think that's right. It was like there was numbers. I think they figured out right around Batman 60. Oh, the Catwoman covers sell pretty well. Nothing has changed, by the way. The Catwoman covers still move. But anyway, so yeah, I'm stoked. It is really a nice cover, though. I don't know what I was thinking. Like I look at it now and go, no, what's not to like about this cover?
Yeah.
Anyway, so there it is. I don't know. I'll have to have a little confetti party when I get the last 3.
Yeah, true. Yeah. You like my Batman shrine? It's I removed everything non-Batman. Now it's all Batman figures.
Yeah.
You guys can't see it, but
you know what it reminds me of, because I did the Warner Brothers tour earlier last year in the fall, and they have all the various Batman uniforms that were in all the movies lined up, and behind glass you can see them, and it looks just like that because it has a certain glow to it. Like you have these blue and green lights on it. It has a sort of a urban feel to it. So you kind of captured that with that. I noticed that. It's cool.
Nice. You know, as Robert Pattinson obviously is my favorite Batman. I'm forgetting his name. Ben Affleck is probably my second favorite Batman. Only because he's as bad as like Justice League is, he's so cool. Batfleck. And just like so, it's like not grounded at all, like Pattinson or Christian Bale.
Yeah.
And it's not like campy like Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
It just feels like otherworldly. And something that I love about his Batman is it's not quite like this, but they do give him like a blue hue in one of the movies. I don't remember. But they give him like a little bit toned version of this, which I think, and we'll talk about in the news, if James Gunn ever gets there, I think James Gunn, there's a pretty good chance he goes with this. Like
that would be cool.
Age, which would be really sweet.
Adam West days, right?
Yeah.
Although was he blue or was it black? It was both, I think. The like 60s TV show.
Yeah, I think his might have been black actually.
Yeah, my mind is blue, but it could be the what's that called? That effect that you have where everybody thinks something happened.
Oh, the Mandela effect.
Yeah.
What's his name? Adam West Batman. Let's Google it real quick. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's like a
gray.
A grayish blue.
Yeah.
Like a dark blue.
It's
you guys can't see it. And I'm not putting the picture up so you can Google it yourself. Because I'm not editing. All right, sweet. Awesome book. Great book. White Pager.
Yeah, White Pager. That's gonna, I mean, you could wait a long time to find a white page, that in a White Pages if ever. So,
and when it comes to those books, or when it comes to like white page books, it's not gonna be hard to move.
Yeah.
Like, you know, with a brittle page or like a cream, you might get some haggle with like, oh, well, you know, because page quality is this, so I don't really want to like, and so you'll get haggle. But with White Pager, it's like you can hold pretty firm.
Yeah, you can just say, well, it's White Pager though.
Yeah, exactly. All right, my turn. So this book was the book from the WonderCon, and I was actually pretty surprised by this suggestion. This is a book I've not owned. This is a book that has been featured before by you.
Yes, because I love this book.
On Show and Tell. This is a book I've wanted, but honestly, I've kind of always thought it was like a little pricey. But I got this book for a smoking deal. And so shout out ChatGPT for getting me this book.
I think ChatGPT gave you a great suggestion.
Yeah, so this is Green Lantern, Green Arrow, 76. So it's a raw copy. The sticker on this is $400. I did not pay that. I want to say I paid $360. I don't exactly. It's like $360 because I think I offered him $350, and he either responded $360 or $370. I don't remember which one.
That's what's the condition?
this is about like I would say after looking at it, I'm confident this will come back a 7.
That's a crazy good deal then. That's
Yeah.
a crazy good deal.
If it came back a 6.5, I would like shrug and be like, I'm not too like, it's kind of like on the line. If it came back a 7.5, I would be like pretty shocked. But I think a 7.
And if it goes back at 6.0, was this for a movie? The cutscene would be you pounding on the door at in Sarasota somewhere. Yeah. What's wrong with you guys?
Yeah.
Open your eyes.
So it's a very clean book. The spine is real clean. There's some close-ups in the video. Again, that's linked in the description, or the link will be at the end of this video. The spine is very clean. The worst of it here is this bottom corner, and there's a close-up in the video again. It just kind of, it's got like, it was like dropped, and it's got like that, like, I forget what
It's kind of like a crunch.
yeah. So
we called it in the old days.
but the rest of the book is immaculate. So, I know. Oh, I didn't realize I just accomplished your goal. I now have all 3 of like the first Bronze Age books.
Oh, you got? Oh, right. Yeah, of course you do. Because you have one ASM 121. And wait a minute. Do you have Conan 1?
Yeah, my grandpa, remember?
I wasn't sure if you still had it or what.
Yeah. It's
All right. Yeah, you got to keep that sentimental. That's cool. What do you guys think the first Bronze Age book is? I think it's one of those things where you really can't be definitive. There's just a handful that 2 or 3 that it could be, but I think it's I don't think of Conan as much. I mean, it just happens to be 1970. It was the first issue, and it's kind of the first major first issue of the 70s. But the ASM 121 and the Green Lantern 76 have contextual reasons. For
Yeah,
it,
for
right?
sure.
So
Which came out first?
this one did.
Oh yeah, because it's a 15 center, and
Yeah.
21 is a 20 center.
So I think this is. I would say this is the one.
yeah,
But
Well-
I think it's fair. DC can have one, and Marvel can have one.
yeah.
I love this book, man.
Do you know the time?
I want a stack of them. Can I have it? I just want. Why can't ChatGPT give me these suggestions? Did ChatGPT find you the deal too?
I wish.
And
I was struggling.
That is a beautiful book. That's one of the best books. That's one of the best books of the Bronze Age, if not the best book of the Bronze Age. Obviously, this is opinion.
Yeah.
But and what is it about green covers?
Yeah, they're nice.
Batman 232, same thing. The first Ra's al Ghul,
Yeah.
emerald green. Golly.
So I couldn't find this. Oh yeah, X-Men 50.
Yeah, X-Men 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, another one. Everybody loves that cover.
Yeah. So I couldn't find this book at WonderCon. I was really struggling. I found this maybe in like the last 2 hours of the con.
Man.
I saw 285s, but my budget was 500. That's the info that I gave ChatGPT to like suggest me a book. And I found 285s, which are, I think it's like I think 85 is actually the line where the price jumps up a decent amount.
I know because I have an 80.
Yeah. So it's kind of like unlucky. Cause I mean, those are gorgeous books, but then I found like some cheap, like I'm talking like 4.0s, like beat, like just doesn't present well. I found those and, they were like $700.
Mm-hmm.
So
That I don't understand the price you paid on that one. Like, truly.
So I don't even know what these go for. So pretty much my budget was 500. I paid, we'll call it 375 just in the middle because I know I offered him 350. So we'll call it 375 in the middle, and it's going to cost me what, $40 to, oh no, a little less than that to grade it. Mm-hmm. So I'm still under the 500 budget.
Yeah.
So I wish it was graded because grading right now is kind of stinks. The whole process is miserable.
It's
but
really slow. People, I don't say people forget, but it is a Neil Adams cover. When you talk about classic Neil Adams covers, most of our minds go to those, and rightly so, those incredible Batman covers because they are so iconic. But that one's equally iconic.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just not Batman, but it's such a beautiful.
Yeah, it's
Neil
gorgeous.
Adams.
All right, show and tell. Some great books today. I'd say.
Yeah, wow.
That was a good day of show and tell.
Yeah, I know. I think we did all right.
Yeah, I'd say so. All right, time for some news.
Yes.
All right, let me scroll down here a little bit. When did we film last week? What was that date? Oops. Sorry, I gotta like pull up.
It's all right.
So we filmed on the 3rd. Okay, so then, all right. Something is happening behind the scenes at the DCU.
Power struggle.
Yeah, it really seems like there's something going on. So remember we had the Clayface movie?
Yeah.
So Mark, let me lay down a little bit of context. So last week we talked about how the Sergeant Rock movie there's reports of delays, and then leakers are saying it's like they're saying delays, but it's canceled. And then there's rumors that there's tension between James Gunn and Warner Brothers about like James Gunn kind of putting his name on like so much of the marketing. So there's that. So we have even more stuff this week that's come out. So the Clayface movie that I think they were talking about around the time Penguin was coming out, it's apparently being rewritten, which is weird because Mike Flanagan was tied to the first script, and he's written like really iconic modern horror movies and just been like kind of in that genre and is really well respected. They're rewriting his script, which is strange.
Uh-oh.
Everybody's kind of curious about it. Excuse me, I just ate right before, and that's always a bad idea. Eating before you just gassy.
I've had students eat before they give speeches in my classes, or even in recorded speeches for online speech classes, and they're just, and it's like really throws people off,
All right, so that's the first one, Clayface. And then we got Peacemaker season 2. I don't think you've seen it.
No.
I've seen it's like the first or second episode, and then there's like a pretty graphic nude scene, and I just stopped watching after that because you kind of lose me at that point. But season 2 come out, and to be completely objective and fair, from all the reviews and things that I've heard about Peacemaker season 1, excellent show. Great. Maybe I'll get around to it later. I don't know. But season 2 is coming out later this summer, like August-ish, and they came out with the trailer. And Guy Gardner is in the trailer, and Hawk Girl is in the trailer. And there's something that people have noticed. If you can see here, so here's a picture of Guy Gardner. You see his chest, that little logo.
Yeah.
So that is JG for Justice Gang. So it's like this like knockoff Justice League. But people are noticing that there's no such thing as the Justice Gang in comics. And coincidentally, James Gunn is also JG. So people are curious if this is another self-branding.
Oh my goodness. Really?
This is all speculation. Again, I'm merely just reporting what is making...
Maybe James Gunn still works for Marvel.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not saying this stuff is true, but this is stuff that's being talked about in our hobby.
He's over there at DC wreaking havoc.
Yeah, so
he's the Farhan of the movie industry.
Yeah, so
who torched my Giants and then went back to the Dodgers, a hero.
But Snell's doing that right now to the Dodgers.
Oh, he's not pitching well.
Oh, he's injured.
Oh, you wouldn't know it. You guys are still in first.
Yeah, not you. I'm not me.
Well, I say you guys. I know. I'm not. You're right. You're a Yankee fan. I know that.
All right. So that's. Sorry, and this is from another leaker, an anonymous Twitter account. I've never seen them before, but they popped up in my feed a lot this week. They said the Clayface rewrite is to buy more time/delay, depending on how Superman performs. The Clayface script is cannibalized from Reeves' script. Yes, Clayface was supposed to be the villain of Batman 2. Then he says Batman 2 is currently canceled, but if Superman doesn't make bank, Warner Brothers will pivot back to Batman and cancel Clayface. Other reports. So this is like just where it gets like really complicated, but this is something that at least I care about, and I know you like the Batman as well. So he's saying that the reason why we're not getting firm news on the Batman 2 is because Warner Brothers is waiting out to see what happens with Superman. And we have all these rumors of like the behind the scenes stuff. But then we got also to like counter what that person said about the Batman 2 being canceled is that it's reported the Batman 2 is reported to begin production in March of 2026. And we did see it pop up on some like Production Weekly. And then it's like, I don't know exactly what they're called, and I forgot to save it here, but there's like these, when they pop up like officially, like that they're moving into production, it kind of has like this small like summarization of like who's producing, writing, directing, and all that stuff, and like the stars of the movie. And so that official thing popped up, but Matt Reeves' name wasn't on that. So again, we don't really know what's going on with Matt Reeves. Somebody said it's Chadwick Boseman's situation. Somebody else said like, hey, don't say that. You don't know what you're talking about. Has like that's like a horrible way to like summarize. So we obviously don't know. No. But somebody came out and said that it's more like a Zack Snyder situation, which I think he was going to like a divorce.
Oh, gosh.
So it's just like a whole lot of he said, she said. We don't actually know.
Make a movie. Come on.
Right? Exactly. So I don't know, but I just want to see the Batman 2 be made. I would rather see honestly, I would rather see the Batman 2 be made than see this upcoming Superman movie. Because we know that the Batman is good. We know that the universe is cool. We know that Matt Reeves can do well. And so I would rather just be like, hey, I don't care about this.
And we know he's got
anymore.
a kicking Batmobile.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see him in that thing some more.
We've seen this, like we've seen the Batman. Long movie. Some people don't like how long it is, so therefore they don't like it. But overall, great movie, great performances from the villain to the hero to Catwoman to the even just like the political like people that are involved. And then obviously you got the Penguin. That spinoff created a show with more villains, and you have a universe at this point. Yeah, like I don't know why it's just bounce off this universe.
Yeah, just make it happen. What are you guys doing? 2026 now?
Yeah.
2027? Like what?
Oh yeah, fall 2027 I think is when the movie was last delayed to. So, I think it would be really fun. And I don't know that maybe Pattinson is this type of actor. I don't know that he's like one to like jump into like a full blown universe like this, because he is a pretty like diverse actor. He's been in a universe before, Twilight, and he had to crawl out of that. Yeah. But I would honestly, and I've said this on the podcast before, I would love to see just like this grounded Batman universe, and then just like Metropolis is just like totally opposite, and just like it's always sunny. Yeah. Like just
the colors are different.
Yeah, like very vibrant. Yeah.
Color saturation versus, dark and gloomy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they should do.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know, they need to stop messing around. It's funny. Life imitates art, right?
Yes.
This is literally what's been going on in Marvel vs. DC Comics for years.
I know.
DC has rebooted 4 or 5 times by now.
So many times. And then they reboot again before the other reboot really had a chance.
Yes.
It's crazy.
It truly is. So this is like, they really are just like something. There's just something in DC that's just like not right. I don't know what, but it's somewhere, and it's a plague.
They made some kind of a dark deal in the 40s, and the bill's coming due, and they can't get out of their own way anymore.
Well, isn't that a little bit of the like the controversy with
behind Siegel and Schuster?
Yeah,
they did the artists and the writers dirty for decades. And it was Neil Adams actually who led the charge against that in the 70s. So, maybe they just gotta pay the piper.
Yeah. So I don't know. Hopefully they figure it out. I mean, you hear it when we talk about the news is just all over the place.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Some people saying this, some people saying that. Maybe all of it's true. Maybe none of it's true. I don't know, but it's crazy.
Maybe Guy Gardner's haircut really is a good haircut.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we're the dumb ones.
Maybe he's just wearing a wig.
Oh man, that's funny. Okay. So, Fantastic Four. Julia Garner as Shala Ball on the set of Fantastic Four First Steps for additional photography in Los Angeles. So she's not in Silver Surfer form here. She is in human form.
Oh.
So maybe this is pre.
Wow.
This would tie in.
Yeah, that's cool. Get your Silver Surfer 1.
Yeah, this would tie in with the theories that maybe she became the Surfer to save Norrin Rad. Maybe Galactus was like ready to kill Norrin Rad, and he was looking for another.
Yeah.
What is it called? Not a horseman.
The Herald.
Herald. Yeah. And so I knew it started with an H.
You were 1/32 of the way there.
Yeah,
no. How many letters are in the alphabet? 16? 32?
27, 26. 26. Right?
Told you, man. Numbers today aren't working for me.
How many? I think it's 26 letters in the
No, it's not 16.
26, yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was a 6 in there. So
you had me doubting myself.
You knew it was an H, and I knew it was a 6.
I said 27 because I was thinking of Yankees championships, and then I was like, wait a second. Sorry. All right. Jack Schreier, who directed The Thunderbolts, is Marvel's top choice to direct the X-Men reboot, reported by Deadline.
Well, he's got momentum behind him. He's got a hit on his hands.
So Marvel is really hitting like this renaissance, like with this movie. Like that's truly how they're viewing it. Is they're seeing the positive reception, and they're wanting to stick with it. And there was something that came out. I'm totally blanking. I don't know if it was like a book or like a bigger like kind of journalistic piece. But it talked about kind of like the recent fall off that Marvel had, and now like this bounce back. And something that the article said was Kevin Feige kind of just really, the movies work really well when the directors are team players. And so that's something that Jack Schreier was a team player.
Yeah.
Just like, he's an employee. However you want to view it, he is an employee of Disney.
Yeah.
But however you want to view like the creative's decision making, whatever. But apparently he played really well with Kevin Feige and was respectable. And that's something that the Russo brothers also do. Is that's why their two movies were like big successes, and people question like their ability to direct outside of Marvel. They had that big flop with Netflix. However, don't undervalue their work on Community, because they killed it on Community.
Yeah, Community was great.
But maybe that's because they played well with Dan Schneider. So
yeah. Such a fun show.
So yeah, it seems like Marvel's really just looking for team players and not these people who kind of seems like maybe are coming in and they're like, I'm gonna shake up the superhero, and just being like, no, like this is how I make movies. This is what this person wants. So let's blend our kind of creative visions together. And Kevin Feige runs this thing, and if he says this is how he wants it, then that's how it's going to go. And that's apparently what happened with Thunderbolts. And check it out.
Well, yeah, it worked out. They don't want to trust the vision to just one perspective.
Yeah,
because you're really rolling the dice. I mean, it could work, but it also could just be a disaster. And they need to try something different, right?
Yeah.
So and it's working. So good.
So meanwhile, we just talked about DC having all these weird things. It's like I'm reporting like 4 different things that I'm like reading.
Yeah.
And now everybody's questioning like, is this Superman movie going to be good? And maybe it's like all this like bad press, and it's going to end up like blowing our minds. Meanwhile, Marvel's like kind of getting out of the gutter, full steam ahead, ready to just kill it. So they're in two very different places.
Yeah,
right now.
it's been interesting. But with the two mega movies still yet to come that will really tilt the scale one way or the other.
Yeah.
It's right now it's Marvel 1, DC 0. But they haven't even gotten up to the plate yet.
Yeah.
But getting up to the plate's half the battle.
Yeah.
Batman 2, look no further. Like, where's that movie?
Yeah.
We should be talking about it coming out in a year.
We should have already been talking about Batman 2 and looking forward to the Batman. It's been 3 years since the Batman came out.
We should be booking our tickets and getting our popcorn. What's happening? This isn't right.
All right. So Jacob Batalon is expected to reprise his role as Ned in the new Spider-Man movie. A handful of Spider-Man news. And, dang it, I didn't save it. I'm forgetting her. Oh, here it is. Lisa Colon Zayas has been cast in Spider-Man Brand New Day. If you don't know who that is, she's in The Bear.
Oh, yeah.
This is a very important casting, okay? She's in The Bear, and she's Puerto Rican. And if you know Spider-Man lore, in the Spider-Man universe, there is only one character who is of Puerto Rican descent. That's important. And his name is Miles Morales. Yeah. So, could she be playing Rio Morales?
That'd be crazy because will Peter and Miles meet? That's been the scuttle for a while.
I don't think we'd see Miles in this movie, but I mean, meeting his mom, not like, and his mom is like in like different iterations is known to like she ran for mayor in the, or not mayor. She ran for like the city council for Harlem in the Spider-Man PlayStation games. And so she just like has like a heart for her city and wants to do good. So also with Mr. Negative and Aunt May's death in No Way Home, that means somebody has to take over Feast, which Aunt May was running. Mr. Negative co-leads Feast with Aunt May in the Spider-Man games. And I think also in the comics,
speculation. It's crazy.
Well, no, the Mr. Negative is like that's kind of what he does.
Okay.
And so you could have like a partnership with Rio Morales, like to help take over Feast, since Aunt May's dead now.
Yeah.
So I think that's how you can introduce that character.
Let's do it.
I don't know. We'll see. This isn't superhero news, but I just gotta drop this in. Somebody tweeted at KD, the basketball player, "Screw you for ruining what would have been a dynasty in Cleveland for joining the Warriors."
Oh gosh!
And he said,
"You know what a year? That's 9 years ago. That's 11 years ago. Get a life."
Unfortunately, Kevin Durant responded and said,
"Why would he do?
I rejoice every morning that it didn't happen." So now all those rumors of collusion that people were teaming up to stop LeBron from winning more championships in Cleveland.
Nah.
He proved it.
No, all he's saying is he's just responding to a troll. I rejoice. doesn't mean that doesn't say anything about his motive for doing it. Just that he's happy it happened.
I just had to throw that in there. It's funny.
Stupid.
I saw that in the middle of the week.
Dumb Cavalier fans. You know what? I hope Indiana wins the next few games and just it's funny because like Cleveland's a completely different team now. Like everybody, right, from those rivalry years with the Warriors. And so I haven't thought about them. I haven't had to think about the Cleveland Cavaliers since KD joined the Warriors. It's just been and they. Congratulations! You're the only team that LeBron James left not once but twice. Like your hometown boy left you twice. That's pretty bad. But I didn't realize how deep the dislike of the. Now, if you're from Cleveland, I apologize to you, but I didn't much appreciate the Cavalier fans any more than the Cavalier fans appreciate the Warrior fans because that's part of the deal, right?
Sure.
It's something. It's not even personal. I don't know anybody from but I didn't realize that I was still holding on to that until Indiana won the first 2 games in Cleveland, and I was really happy about it.
Yeah.
And I thought, why am I happy about it? I don't have any skin in this at all.
Yeah.
I kind of like Jared Allen. I like the players on Cleveland right now. But that just goes to show it doesn't really leave you.
Yeah.
Fair
enough. All right. Last bit of news here. This is from a leaker. They even said, take this with a grain of salt. Marvel Studios has concept art of Daniel Wu as Mr. Negative. So Daniel Wu is an actor who's being considered for the role. I've not seen him in anything, but he looks the part. I'm totally gonna mess this up. Pang Shang is the fight choreographer for Spider-Man Brand New Day. He's best known for the choreography of Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi had some excellent action scenes. I don't know if you remember.
Oh yeah,
But
that was
like
one of the best things about the movie.
Yeah, like when he's like scaling like the outside of the building, and like when they're fighting outside of that big neon screen, like just some beautiful action sequences. And then like the fight scene between the Mandarin and Shang-Chi's mom, where it was like more of like a dance than it was just excellent. So that with the Spider-Man movie is gonna be sick.
Yeah,
it's gonna be good.
We're gonna see some good stuff.
So this is like funny because we were like, fans were like, we want a grounded Spider-Man, like local, like he's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And then Disney was like, okay, we're gonna do it. And then 2 weeks later, they were like, just kidding, we're doing multiverse. And we were like, what in the world?
Yeah.
So Destin Daniel Cretton, who is the director of Shang-Chi, is directing Brand New Day. His one condition for taking on the film was getting rid of the multiverse plot and soft rebooting Spider-Man in the MCU. The film will be far more grounded with an emotional depth to it. So
Good.
seems
I like his thinking.
So I hope that's the case. I mean, that's honestly the charm of the Andrew Garfield animated or Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man movies is that it's all in-house.
Yeah.
So he can make. I mean, Spider-Man making his appearance in Avengers, like that's what happens in comics. Like, but his day-to-day is Manhattan, Queens, and team ups with Miles in Harlem and Brooklyn. So, yeah. This is the last bit of news. The other Spider-Man who were originally going to appear in the multiverse version, so Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, of the film, instead they're going to be making their return in Secret Wars. So, we'll see.
All right.
Still, they haven't started shooting yet. I think they start shooting soon because I think Tom Holland is wrapping the Odyssey, Chris Nolan's Odyssey soon.
I just don't think that movie's going to work.
I've never read it, so it's Chris Nolan though.
I just don't. I'm not a big fan of these. There's just too many stars in it. When they try to do a movie, with what do you call those? There's a certain word for it, but where they have a dozen like A-list actors in it. You know, I don't feel it. But it is the epic of all epics. If it's done well, it should be good, right?
Yeah. That actually just reminded me because you're saying, all these big A-list movie stars in this movie. Obviously, that's
ensemble cast.
Yeah,
that's what
ensemble cast. That's obviously what we're getting with Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. So it's like, how are those movies going to work? I don't know. But Alan Cumming, who played Nightcrawler, is coming back. And he did a couple interviews after that announcement that kind of flew under the radar. And so they asked him in like one interview and they were like, hey, like, you ready to get back in the makeup chair? Like, Nightwing is like no joke. And he's like, we already did a makeup test and it went from being 5 hours in like 2000 or 1999, whenever it was, to 90 minutes to get him in full makeup. So seems like the makeup design has come a long way.
Spray on template.
And then he said in another interview after that one, that they asked him kind of how he was, was he excited and kind of how was he feeling? And he said something along the lines of like, yeah, like I'm really excited. And he said he was like reading the script or something. And it was, he was like, yeah, I get to punch Pedro Pascal. So we're going to get a Nightwing versus Reed Richards fight.
Nightwing's going to get wrecked.
I think he's a sleeper in that fight. I think because he will go, he can transport via I'm forgetting what the dimension is, and all he's got to do is grab Reed and then bam.
Reed will outsmart him. Reed will reverse his device when he's not looking.
And that also reminded me from that same article I mentioned earlier. Apparently, the X-Men movie is already written. So when they were talking about the X-Men movie and Jack Schreier joining, they said, and I'm blanking on the name because I didn't write it down because I literally had just learned of it, but they said X writer has penned the script, not is in the process of writing or is penning. Said penned in past tense. So obviously it'll probably go through rewrites, but at least there's a draft done, which is impressive.
Yeah, that's progress. We'll take it.
Yeah. So, all right, that's all the news that we got, and now it's time.
Oh man. The sleepers and head scratchers was tough because I went from I'm not sure what I should choose to picking something to by the time I got here, having had even more time to think about it, I have probably 6 sleepers,
I have
which I'm not going to give you 6 sleepers, promise.
I have 1 sleeper, and I think my head scratchers. I mean, it might start a riot.
Well, that's good. Controversy sells. Let's go.
See. All right, I've been talking for a while, so why don't you start us off with the sleeper?
Yeah. I'm just going to throw a couple of just broad sleepers before I show you the one I brought.
Yeah.
Because it won't take long. I think, and I don't know why I think this at all, except suddenly I got interested in it. So take that for what it is. And then I did a little bit of homework, and I just think a sleeper, or at least an undervalued arena of the comic book collecting world, a little aisle of the store, if you want to put it that way, are those gold key sci-fis like Magnus Robot Fighter and all that stuff, but not. It has to be in high grade because there's a lot of them around. But if you get, they came out in like the 60s. They're kind of inspired by the Star Trek thing, and I don't know if it ever became a property, and it could, because they're really kind of cool stories. Those types of series ever became an IP, forget it, because they're cool covers and they're very, they got a gold key look to them. I don't know how else to say it. I didn't bring one, but I wish I had. But anyway, if you happen to see any gold key 60s sci-fi, early 60s sci-fi, pick it up. Which if it's early 60s, obviously it's not inspired by Star Trek because that came out later. This one here
got Mary Poppins back. Just comics.
Just
comics flying out of that thing.
Yeah, man, it's exactly. You never know.
Pull out a Batman one for me from there?
If when I do, you'll be the first to know. This one is really a cheap one. Like it's not a sleeper that's going to be worth hundreds of dollars one day. I don't think. It's just one of those books where you can get it for nothing right now, and it may just be one of those things that you say, man, why didn't I get it when I had a chance? I could have picked it up for $10 and I didn't do it. And it's X-Men 451. It's a little bit of coverage, a little skimpy. Apologize for that, but it is X-Men 451. It's the first time that X-23 battles the X-Men. And it's a cool cover. Let me just you hold it up to the. You take a look at it first and hold. It's a cool cover. And it's significant in that regard. And like I said, you can get it right. I actually checked on eBay before I came over. There's one right now, a 9.8 that's on eBay, is an auction with a few days to go, and the price is still sitting at $9.95.
Oh wow!
So it'll be over by the time. Like, I'm not going to bid on it because I won't be around to pick it up if I win, but it's not going to go for that. I see buy it now prices on this in near mint condition for $12, $14, $15. It's not a big deal or anything, but it's just, like that one cover where you have Wolverine crucified on the X.
Yeah.
And then it really popped when the movie came out. Yeah. I could see a book like this kind of doing that if they ever, and that got me thinking in a broad sense, sleeper is just, I think it's not a sleeper because everybody knows about it, but I think it's one of those things where, hey, if you think about buying the dip, I think pretty much anything X-23 at this point is a good buy. The prices, and I would say the same about Miles Morales, but X-23, I'll stick with that one.
Yeah.
The prices, they're starting to tick back up a little bit on NYX 3 and 4 and a few others, but I mean, they're the X-Men are coming to the MC. There's no way that Laura Kinney's not going to be part of that.
Yeah.
And so this is just one of those side ones that's so cheap, and why not pick it up?
Yeah. That Wolverine cover you're talking about. That was like a $20 book that became like a $50 book for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then it came back down a little bit.
So this is the kind of book where I'm not saying buy it and then it's going to go to the moon. No, I mean go and get 10 copies of it for $7, or you might, who knows where you might find it and how cheap it might be, and then it'll be something that you could trade up for something bigger that you might be able to get. That's a cool way to improve your collection. Is on the short term spec. If you really are, if you read the books, if you know what you're doing, get a book like this where you conceivably could find it in the $2-3 bins, and see if you can get 5 or 6, 8, 10 of them, and then just wait. And if it just gets hot for a couple weeks, sell them for $20-25 each. And then you've got $400 or $500. Go get something you really, you know what I'm saying? Or you get it. You could even get a good trade value for a book that's hot for, say, like a Bronze Age book that isn't hot but is a valuable book, because the retailers can take the book they can't sell, give it to you in trade, get these 10 books from you, and sell them in 2 hours.
Yeah,
and get their money, which is what they really want.
And that's what you did with McFarlane back in the day.
That's exactly what I did with McFarlane. Should have kept one of each, though. I just don't know why I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Which McFarlanes? All of them.
Yeah,
From 298, and I had multiples. 5, 6, 7 copies of 298, 299, 300, 301, 302. All of them.
Yeah, and you traded them for Golden Age Superman, right?
I traded those. I traded for the Golden Age Superman. Was Nom and Longshot. The Amazing Spider-Mans, I got my story finally right. The Amazing Spider-Mans that I traded, because I know I told you I traded for the Superman. Those I traded for the Iron Man 1, the Golden Age of the Lulus, the Iron Man, or I'm sorry, Green Lantern 14, a bunch of Silver Age stuff. So yeah, but I remember I told that story originally, and I had thought that was what I traded for the Superman. What I traded for the Superman was a big stack of there's a book called The Nom that came out in the 80s or 90s. And it literally was hot for like a year, and I sold them all, or traded them all.
Yeah.
But I still should have kept one copy of each.
Wait, so you traded the McFarlanes for Iron Man 1?
Yeah, for a chunk of stuff. File copies of Golden Age, Little Lulus, and Westerns like Lone Ranger, Iron Man 1, so Green Lantern 14 and like a 7.0. I mean, there was no, it was just fine. I wish I could remember all the books I got for it, but I got a haul, like a massive Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, like that 9.2 Iron Man 3 came from that trade.
Wow.
So because I just went there and all I wanted was high grade Silver Age or Golden Age. That's all I got. And I got a ton of it because he gave me like $400 of credit. That's how many of these I had. Because he sold them probably for $40 each. Yeah. He's probably wishing he kept it too.
Yeah, for sure.
But but I didn't know, and nobody did, like that Venom was going to be, Venom.
The thing, yeah.
It was more McFarlane's first work on Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, okay, but it's not that big of a deal.
Right. Yeah.
But it was. But I don't regret it though. I still have some of the books from that trade, so it was a good trade.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. I'll go sleeper.
One more. Journey into Mystery 88, that near mint 9 point whatever of the first. Oh, you don't have it up on. Oh yeah, that one. That one in like a 9 something was file copy perfect.
Oh,
that was part of that trade too.
Oh, you don't still have that book, do you?
No, I wish I sold that. I sold almost every one of those books in 1996.
Yeah.
My first wave of sales.
Dang. Crazy.
Mm-hmm. Painful. All right, let's see. What's your sleeper?
So, my sleeper is a book that I have, but I didn't bring to show just because I didn't think to do that. This book, it's Avengers 8, the first appearance of Kang. I do not understand why this book is as low as it is. I understand there's a lot of drama behind the actor who played Kang, but that should not impact the history of the character.
Right.
As Doom is to Fantastic Four, so is Kang to the Avengers. Like, Kang is the Avengers' nemesis, his number one villain. Doc Ock to Spider-Man, Doom to FF, Magneto to X-Men. That's what Kang is to the Avengers.
Yeah.
Avengers 8, top 10. Was he the first villain? No, there was that, I think... Avengers 2, there's like another villain that none of us know.
No, he's the villain.
But he's the villain. And through like the 80s, you have the whole Citizen Kang storyline. In the 90s, you have that Avengers run where the X-Men were involved in that one too. And then all throughout the 2000s, Kang pops up. And then, of course, when they brought Kang into the movies, then they started doing more Kang in comics. So he's just like the Avengers villain. And yet, the first appearance of Magneto, I mean, that's X-Men 1, fine. Expensive book. First appearance of Doc Ock, that's not a top 10. I don't think that's a top. Wait, is it? Is that ASM? Sorry, Green Goblin. Green Goblin isn't.
That's 13.
That's 13 or 14. That's not a top 10 ASM. FF5. Like all these books are like really expensive books.
Yeah.
And Kang is just not. So I have a 5.0 off-white to white copy. I bought that in 2022. I bought that for $900. And that was when like peak sales for that book were like $1,200, $1,300. So I thought I was getting a deal. Right now, last sale this month or last month, April, 5.0 went for $348. Okay. If I had not spent that $900, I could have got a 7.5 for $850 or an 8.0 for $972. So
that's tough, man. That's tough.
But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get.
Yeah, you should do it.
And I'm gonna get a white page copy.
Do it.
All right. So here's some more data for you guys because you know that I like. So Mr. Longbox gave you guys like a kind of like an entry. Like here's a sleeper book that nobody's really like thinking about. Grab a few of these and flip them, and you can make your way up.
Yeah.
I'm giving you the opposite kind of a sleeper. Like a big book that you can get, that you can hold on to long term, or that a book for a character that you might just want to put in your PC and keep.
Yeah.
But either way, this thing has legs, and it's a major first appearance. It's not a minor key. This isn't a half key. This is a major first appearance because the book was affected by something that shouldn't even affect it.
Right.
So,
and it's got a cool cover.
And it's a sweet one of the. I mean,
it's just a really cool cover.
I'm so you guys know I have this long-term goal because it's going to take me a while for top 10 issues of FF, X-Men, ASM, and Daredevil. I originally had Avengers in there, but I looked at Avengers top 10 and like 1 in 8 are the only good ones.
Yeah.
And 10 is a variant of Kang, First Immortus. That one's not even that cool. I have that one. But I had 1, and I have 8, and I'm just like, I'm kind of content with that. Like, I'm like no biggie. So
and then don't forget Avengers 4. That's a cool cover.
Oh yeah, Avengers 4, the first Silver Age cap. But well, I'm not big on that book.
Which was also part of that trade that I made.
Really?
I scored.
Wow. Yeah, you did.
And also part of the 1996 sell.
That's why you're getting all these. That's why you're not winning these days. It's because you used all of it. Then
I had really good good buys back in the day, and I did, so I can't complain.
Okay, so when I don't know if when we've done sleepers and head scratchers in the past, they were part of like the members only segment, which we ended up cutting out. So what I used to do then when we were doing that is I would just like as an entry point, getting into the top 10% on the census of a book is kind of like a safe starting point. Now obviously 10% looks like wildly different across the board, right? Because like top 10% for Ultimate Fallout 4 is going to be a 9.8, right? Like, so it's like, yeah, you should probably only get like a 9.8
if you want investment grade.
Right, exactly. So it's going to look different across the board, but I think top 10%, when just thinking in generalities, is a good place to start. So that actually starts between 8.0 and 8.5. So 8.0 here, according to Go Collect, is the top 13%, and 8.5 is top 8.7%. So I think you could go safe either way. As Mr. Longbox has mentioned in the past, 8.5, the difference between 8.0 and 8.5 is pretty drastic.
Yeah.
8.5 is still like near mint. I think it's still considered VF, but it's still like they don't allow for much in 8.5.
Yeah.
8.0 is where they start to give leeway into the types of damages that
if you look at a book and you can see pretty obviously 2 or 3 clear ticks or whatever, it's not going to be an 8.5.
Yeah.
It's going to be an 8.0 at best. An 8.5, you have to search to find it.
Yeah.
It's there, but it's not obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 8.5 is it's an 8.590 is sometimes hard to tell the difference.
Yeah.
An 8.0 though and an 8.5 big difference.
Yeah. So, and this is actually 8.0, 8.5 is where the price is. Like the difference in price is pretty, well, it kind of flip flops, but just because there is an anomaly high sale. So let's start with 8.0s. So in 2022, the peak sale for an 8.0 was $6,000. $6,000 for an 8.0. The low sale in 2022.
Sorry for that guy. Yeah.
The low sale in 2022 was $2,220.
That's the lowest.
So that's the lowest sale was $2,000, $220, and the most somebody paid was $6,000. 2023, the most somebody paid was $3,120, and the lowest somebody paid was $1,767. 2024, the most somebody paid was $1,700. The least somebody paid was $960. So far in 2025, there's only been 2 recorded sales. Again, this is an 8.0. First sale of the year was at $1,100, and the second was just this past April for $972. So
that's unbelievable.
Average it out.
Wow.
$1,000 for an 8.0. Silver Age, Grail.
And now you know where the book can go. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
if there's high demand, there's not a lot of supply to meet it.
Yeah.
So that book's it can go back to the moon.
And so here's 8.5. So I'm not gonna start at 2022 again. We'll just start last year, 2024. High sale 2,100, low sale 915. This year there's been 3 recorded sales. High sale 1,670, low sale 1,075. So the 1,670 is kind of an anomaly sale, which again I always say, like, just kind of ignore that, whether it's high or low. Follow the trends in the market. I had somebody comment on, I don't know, I guess my video got suggested to them, but the Death of Comic Con videos that I did last year, that's just stirred up a ton of controversy.
Yeah.
Somebody commented like that I'm dumb and like I don't, like, if a rich person wants to buy a $3,500 book for $10,000, they're not setting the market. I didn't bother responding to this person, but it's like, obviously, like, but also it's like you're talking in a kind of a reach of a hypothetical.
Yeah, come
like,
on. You're arguing from the lesser to the greater.
Right. There might be some sellers who like try to like get you at an anomaly high sale, but for the most part, a reputable seller, I hear all the time on live sales, they're like, there was kind of a crazy last sale, but I'm just gonna like put this at the average that it's been so far. But just so you know that, because that could be the start of a new trend. You don't know. I mean, I don't know. Nobody knows. But there's not enough data to base anything on because it's one sale. So back to the Avengers 8 on April 11th, this sold for $1,670. The last 2 sold for $1,100 pretty much. So you can get 8.0, 8.5 pretty much the same price. $1,000, $1,100. There's no difference.
Yep.
So
did you get it?
Yeah, I'm gonna be hunting. But in a 9.0, that's where kind of like the gap between lows and high sales kind of closes in a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're pretty much looking at like $2,000 to $2,500.
Yeah. Well, good luck finding one in a 9.0 anyway. I mean, gosh, so tough.
So like in 2024, there were 6 sales for a 9.0. The high sale was $3,000. The low was $2,400. So like, and then this year so far, there's been 2 sales. One was $3,200 and the other one was $2,300. Those were only a couple days apart.
Yeah, so that's pretty set.
So at 8.0 for $1,000, I think that's a great investment. And then you just pop into the 7.0s, which is still a great grade.
Yeah. For
$800, $700. Let me see. Oh, I just lost the page. Let me see what the last.
Yeah, it'd be a long term, like you said, a long term buy. Either long term spec or just a great book to have in your collection.
Yeah, 6.5 here sold for $550. 7.0 sold for $800. 7.5 sold for $850. So really, from 7.0 to 8.0, the prices are all pretty close. $800 to $1,100, like average sale between those 4 grades.
So much of this comes down to why you want to buy a book, you know? Like
Yeah.
if you want to buy it because you're a collector and you've always wanted the book and you want to, or you love that character and you just want to own that piece of stock in that character and have that, you know, piece of history and all that, then, you know, your motives are different than if you're trying to, and there's no wrong reason to buy a book. But say your reason is, well, I'm buying it because I think it's underpriced, undervalued, and I think I can turn it around. Or I think that 20 years from now, I'm going to be really glad that I bought this. But there's so many reasons to do it. That book, though, could presumably check almost every one of those boxes.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's a great piece to have in your collection.
Yeah.
Whether or not you even like the Avengers or Kang, it's Marvel history. It's one of Marvel's major villains.
Yep.
And it's a top 10 Avengers book. It's an early 60s. And then if you get a high grade, it's just very special. And long term, it's most definitely going to go up. It's not going up long term.
Yeah.
That's, you know, unless history breaks. And so, you know, the long term on a book, if it's a high grade, it will go up. But it could also catch fire again too.
Yeah.
And be like, why not, right? The right writer gets on it, or they bring Kang back in the MCU and all is forgiven, or whatever they decide. Because he's got so many great stories, so much great lore, so many interactions with mega superheroes. Yeah, that's a great sleeper. I've even thought about picking up that book. And I don't follow I'm not an Avengers fan, and I don't really know a whole lot about the Kang storylines. But for the reasons I just said, the last ones, it's just like, how much cheaper am I going to let it get?
Yeah, I got a 5.0.
No, you just convinced me to get an 8.5.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I mean, look, he's tied in with the FF. He's tied in deep with FF lore.
Yep.
He's tied in deep with Doom. He's tied in deep, well, obviously with the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, as Darkseid is to Justice League, that's what he is to the Avengers.
Yeah, and it's not just because he happened to be there early. Like some of the best storylines that the Avengers characters run through involve him, you know, and in fact even crosses over to Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
anything timeline stuff. So yeah, that's a great one, man. That's a great one.
If you want another one, a similar one, this one's for free. You don't got to pay me for this one. Flash 139, first appearance of Reverse Flash Eobard-a-thon. I mean, that book, again, back to like Green Goblin, Doc Ock, to Spider-Man, just like the villain to these heroes.
Yeah.
Reverse Flash is the villain to Flash.
Yeah.
And Flash is one of the most iconic characters and heroes just in pop culture. Yep. I mean, the first appearance of Flash, Jay Garrick, is a crazy expensive book. The first appearance of Barry Allen ushers in the Silver Age of comics.
Yeah.
He's a staple character in DC.
Yep.
And you can get the Reverse Flash for dumb cheap. I think I was just scrolling the other day. Key Collector is not really anything to like really source data from because sometimes it can be outdated.
Yeah.
But I think what they do like the low, mid, and high.
Yeah.
I think high for a raw 139, they said like 1.2K. I'm not sure you'll find it like that cheap for like a high grade. But I mean, you can get a few $100. You can kind of get entry level into the mid grade for that.
And they're not cheap books, not cheap sleepers, but they're like Mount Rushmore sleepers.
They're sleeper grails. Yeah. I mean, I would consider Avengers 8 I mean, you have your like S tier grails, right? Your X-Men 1, your AF-15. Well, that's like even like on another level, but like you just have like these things that like kind of define Marvel, right? These first appearances, first appearance of X-Men, first appearance of FF, right? That's on its own thing. But then you just talk about like all the other grails. And for Marvel, that's mostly just going to be villains.
Yeah.
And like the first reappearances of like Captain America or Namor, like, but for the most part, it's going to be your villains that are going to be sitting right under like those first appearances. So
that's a great one.
You can't have heroes without villains.
No, you can't. Yeah, those are good picks.
Yeah. So there you go.
Man. Well, For head scratchers, I didn't bring any because I don't own them. That's because I believe in that they're head scratchers. But no, head scratchers, books that we think are too expensive. We don't really understand why they're expensive or why they're valued and all that. It doesn't mean that we hate the books or anything like that, but just maybe that the price point is not on par with what we think is a value. So for me, I have two kind of general areas. The first one is kind of it's very subjective, you guys, and there's gonna be a lot of people who disagree with me on this. But it's pretty much across the board. Any ratio covers in gen,
Wow.
they're just I can't. Now there's a subjectivity to it. If there's a cover you love, then it doesn't matter how much you have to pay for it if you love it and you want it.
Right.
But I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is I want to buy this book because I think I can make some money on it down the road. Like it is. If you want to gamble, if you want to spec hard, you got your high risk, high reward, and then you got your low risk, low reward.
Yeah.
Now those are both acceptable. What you don't want though is high risk, low reward. And I think if you're going to spend a lot of money on a ratio cover that came out a month ago,
Yeah.
that's it's ratioed 100 or 500, and you're going to spend $300-400 on it, graded, slabbed. That's a high risk and really not a very high reward because what at best, I mean, what's the best case scenario that you could sell it for $1,000, so you could maybe double your money. So you got to put 500 down to get another 500. That's not high reward. That's high risk, low reward.
And with ratios, that's manufactured scarcity.
Which that's what made me stop collecting sports cards. So when it just got too out of control in the 90s with the manufactured scarcity, it's exhausting. So anyway, just a word of caution. Look, if there's a cover, like I love the Mark Spears covers that have come out. I think they're beautiful. I don't want to spend $300 on one though.
Yeah.
I really would love to own a few, but the thing is he's coming out with new ones. So just hold out. There's more Mark Spears coming out. They won't cost $400 because Marvel is going to produce more of them or whoever, right?
Yeah.
And if people are buying them, they're going to print more. You'll get your Mark Spears monster covers. But if there's a book that you just want because you absolutely love the cover and you love the character or you love the artist or all three, then who am I to tell you what it's worth? Pay what you want. I'm not knocking it at all. I've done it myself. I got plenty of those books in my collection. All right. So don't get mad at me if you just spent $300 on a ratio and you're really happy about it. Now you feel like I'm like saying you made a bad decision. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying buyer beware if you're trying to spec to make money on it because it's really,
it's a gamble.
It's a gamble. At least, you really don't have anything to lose if you want to wait 6 months. After 6 months, it's probably not going to be worth more than when all the hype was high, but it's very likely going to be less.
Yeah, I've bought some ratio covers from like LCS. Now, if I really like the ratio, like if it's an artist that I like, I'll buy it and I don't think much of it because I just like it.
Yeah.
But I've bought other ones where I thought like, oh, this can go up because it's a ratio.
Yeah,
just find out it's worth like $2 now.
Yeah, you're like, oh, God, why? And yeah, those are the ones. If you wait long enough, even at your LCS, when you go in there, they'll say, hey, it's half price. It's half price.
Yeah.
So just hold out there if you can. The other one that I think is a little less known is the paying too much for a newsstand copy of a book. Now, I like a newsstand copy of certain things when the newsstands were more rare.
Yeah.
And then there's another little added bonus of a newsstand in high grade, and that would be less chance of it being in high grade because they're sitting in spinner racks and kids are flipping through them, and there just aren't as many high grade newsstand.
Yeah.
But there was a time in the early 80s, and I don't know if it goes too much into the late 70s, where the rare one was actually the direct. There was way more newsstands than there were direct. It was a brand new thing that they started to do in the late 70s, early 80s. And so in that time, if somebody says to you, oh yeah, here's I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. Moon Knight 1, it's a newsstand or something like that versus a direct. Just go, well, yeah, the direct would be more rare of a Moon Knight 1. There were a lot less of that. So just be careful about that.
Comic shops were just
that
starting
was just a
out.
brand. They were just testing this thing out. It wasn't. Yeah. Now, if you're talking about a 1999, 2001, 2005 newsstand, I've paid extra for newsstands. I've got and I have no problem doing it because I know it's rare.
Yeah.
Because they really weren't selling they weren't selling very many comic books on newsstands by the time that.
The Ultimate Fallout 4 in a newsstand is
forget it. Pay it.
Yeah.
I would rather have that in an 8.0 than a 9.8 direct all day, any day. I'll pay more for the newsstand 8.0.
Yeah.
Or whatever, 7.0 even. I've got the first Echo in a newsstand and the second Echo in a newsstand.
Great books.
But they're great books. Find them in a newsstand, right? They're really tough. So, but just take a look at the date. If it's a 50-cent cover, the newsstand is not the rare one. It's the direct one. I'm not saying the direct one is harder to find. It may still be a better, more rare, a better purchase to get the newsstand version because of the harder, the difficulty in getting maybe a newsstand in a higher grade. But just understand that 50 cent, 60 cent, even 75-cent cover price books in a newsstand are not rare. That is not rare. Buyer beware with that one. That's all I got to say, man.
All right. Ready for mine?
Yep.
I'm going to ruffle.
You said this was going to be controversial.
I'm going to ruffle some feathers with this one.
My feathers? Are my feathers about to get ruffled?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think you're fine. You might disagree with me, but you don't own any of these.
Okay.
You might want to. I don't know. All right. My head scratchers. Ready?
Yeah.
Any indie book from the 80s and the 90s. Specifically, Bone 1.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote some down. Albedo 2. Mm-hmm. Sorry. Oh, that one might offend you.
No, it won't.
Gobbledygook 1.
Sam, yeah.
Cerebrus the Aardvark 1. And just a couple because I was looking at indie stuff. Cursed Pirate Girl. It's like $1,000 book because it's scarce.
Yeah.
And Greed 6, the first appearance of Milk and Cheese. I don't know. That's just what I don't know. I understand that they're a little bit there was low print runs because at the time like indie, like that's when indie actually like meant something.
Yep.
Right? Like Image isn't indie anymore. Like they might not have this like big IP, but they're well respected.
Yeah.
They fill shelves at actually, they do have IPs. Like Walking Dead and Invincible. Yeah, they're not. Yeah,
they're not the little kid.
Yeah, but yeah, I get it. Like in the indies, my only exception is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I'll explain why I think that is an exception. But the reason why I think that these are overpriced garbage, and why if you're paying high prices for these books in high grade. I understand low print runs. I understand these were like actual small companies that were like producing non-superhero stuff and like original stories. Great.
Right.
Awesome. That's really cool. There's no pop culture impact. Usagi Yojimbo, cool character. Hardly relevant in pop culture. Not relevant at all in pop culture. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I wrote it down here. What is this?
The Aardvark?
Yeah, I don't even know what. Who cares?
There's a 300 print run, but you already mentioned print run. It's not a good enough reason. Yeah.
You know why these books are expensive?
The only one I know of would be Cerebrus the Aardvark, and it's just excuse me. It's just considered, and it's not, but it's considered, kind of the godfather of the indie hero book.
Yeah, it was like 1977.
Yeah, and so that not the godfather of the indie books like Zap Comics 0 and 1 would be that book from the early 70s. But that was in the 80s when the black and white indie books kind of became all the rage. Things like Space Beaver, things you never heard of and never going to hear of again, were on the cover of Comic Values Monthly because people were specking like mad on it.
Yeah.
But Cerebrus issue 1, that that book was kind of the grail of all of it. And so I think there's nostalgia attached to that one. TMNT 1 was also, but that's now in its own, and you'll talk about it in a minute. I know.
Yeah.
That's a special case. That one is.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's the other rest of them. I think Gobbledygook is the first appearance, like that has an ad for.
Yeah.
Is it TMNT?
Yeah, and you know what?
Yeah.
There's ads for Hulk 181 and a bunch of other and Daredevil and Thor and
in Fantastic Four issue 5, Human Torch is reading Hulk 1.
right. But there's no like those. That's not like inflated because it's an ad.
They don't.
So get that junk out of here. I don't care about that. Like stop. It's not a real first appearance, right?
I don't disagree with you at all. You're not wrong.
So here's why I think those books are
Primer 2 is another one.
Yeah. Here's why I think those books are really inflated. Right. We already talked about print run. There's no denying that they have low print run, low survival rates, right, coming out because it's low print run. I understand all that, and I understand its impact on the market. Here's why I think that they're inflated. You said it a little bit, and I'm going to expand on it. Nostalgia. People who are between my age and your age are the bigger kind of collecting audience here. Yeah. A lot of the comic book YouTubers, right, they're like in their 30s and their 40s. They're like late 80s. They're like 80, like they were kids in the 80s and like teenagers in the 90s. So like a lot of that indie stuff, like they were like really into. And I'm like a 90s kid, but I wasn't like super conscious during like the 90s. Like I don't have a lot of, I have some memories from when I was like 3 or 4, but I'm not, my mind's not like flooded with like 90s stuff.
Right.
So because they seem to dominate like the IG space, maybe I'm being ageist, I don't know, but because they seem to be dominating like the IG space and really do seem to be like the biggest population of like the of collectors, that's nostalgic to them. And so I think that that's what's inflating the price of it, is because they remember these prices when they're kids. Sorry to break it to you, nobody cares about these characters. Nobody cares about Bone, Usagi Yojimbo. I think you can make an argument for Usagi Yojimbo, but even then,
he's got a following, but it's not a pop culture impact.
Yeah, and they still like print him today, so I think that's what, like, he has a little bit of like relevancy. Like he's still being printed, but Bone, I've never seen him on the shelf.
Or Concrete. Like there's a few like that where I don't get it.
Yeah. So TMNT, I'll tell you why TMNT is the exception, is because it's actually pop culturally relevant, and because that's something that's actually been passed down in generations. So like we've talked about, or I don't even know if we've talked about on camera, but I know we've talked about it. Your dad has talked about it, but your dad remembers reading the Superman comics way back in the day. And so, you know, he didn't keep any of them. Darn.
Come on, Dad. No.
But, you know, that gets passed down to you and or in some ways, and you started collecting Superman. Your dad was like, hey, like I remember those. Like, and so Superman gets passed down from generation to generation. Marvel characters gets passed. I mean, Marvel's just like a huge. It's hard to not pass it down. TMNT, you could have kids who are kids in the 80s who grew up, and then the animated TV shows, and then those really bad 90s TMNT live action movies.
But the dads and the kids and the moms and the kids are watching it together.
Right, and they just had the new TMNT movie from a couple years ago, and like that was a great movie.
Yeah.
And so, you know, now there's like kids who just learned about TMNT just a couple years ago from that movie, so you have new fans. So it's pop culturally relevant, and it's something that's going to
The Last Ronin.
Yeah, it's something that's going to continue to be passed down. Bone stops with you, the 40-year-olds. I don't know. Like you're not telling your kids about Bone. Like
that's really true. That's hilarious, but it's true. Yeah, nobody's huddling around the TV screen to watch the latest episode of Cerebus the Aardvark.
Yeah,
you know, so it's become it's more in the same vein of kind of like an inside joke. Not that the book is a joke, but it has that same people who know it are the people who were always on the inside and knew it, but nobody on the outside knows it at all. Yeah, except to look through like the Overstreet price guide and go, "What the heck is this?" Like that's why I was laughing so hard, because your reaction to those prices is it's funny to me because it's true. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah. Why should I pay this much for this Kamiko book? You know,
Right.
I don't understand why.
And look, when I'm saying like,
It's musical chairs.
you know, those people who were like kids in the 80s, right? You were like a teenager into college years
Yeah,
in the 80s,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So,
High school.
And you like that, you missed that.
Yeah.
And I was born in 96. I missed that. So it's literally the people that are between us who were kids growing up
Yeah.
in the 80s into the 90s where that actually like means something to them. And that's great. You can have that. It's meaningful to you. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm talking about from a market perspective.
Yep.
That on a general scale, it's just not worth that.
The thing that, and I remember bringing Albedo issue 3 as a sleeper because it's the second
Yeah.
Usagi Yojimbo, and he's featured drawn by Stan Sakai on the back cover. It's gorgeous.
Yeah,
So
it's
it looks
cool.
great in a slab, right? But the reason I picked that as a sleeper was the gap between value of each
Right.
of the first and second mirrors. I mean, it's absurd.
It's crazy,
It's
yeah.
like $300 for one and 40,000 for the next. Like,
Yeah.
who's paying $40,000 for the first appearance of
Yeah.
Usagi Yojimbo? If I got $40,000, I'm getting myself a Cap 1.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about Golden Age Cap 1.
Right.
You know, I'm gonna not a minty one, but I'll get one. You know, I mean, there's a lot of books. I think about that sometimes with some of these more recent books, or even crazy ratios where they're, or crazy newsstands. Like you sent me that Daredevil 168, 9.8, signed by Frank Miller, and the price on it. It's on one of the consignment sites. Was like $3,400 or 30.
No, 5K.
Yeah, okay, 5K. And you know what my response to you was?
Yeah.
I said, that's a crazy price. And then I said, just crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I said it to you twice
Yeah.
because I thought, like, and that's one of my favorite books of all time.
Yeah.
And Frank Miller is my favorite artist of all time, despite what, you know, he may or may not be doing recently, but you know, just historically speaking, there's no shot that I'm gonna, if I got $5,000 to spend on a book, that's what I'll spend it on.
Yeah.
I will go get myself a nice copy of Daredevil 1.
Yeah.
Or you know, an entry level copy of FF1. There's no way I would spend it on
Yeah.
that, right? That's insane.
Right.
Same idea with these indie books. Like even if they are valuable, would you, if you had a choice, Cerebus 1 or I mean I don't know, some Golden Age first appearance, you know, of,
Let me see. I have data here.
Give me a comp.
I wasn't going to use any data, but I have it all pulled up here. So,
Yeah.
Highest grade here. Okay, so we'll go 9.0.
Okay.
Sold for $9,000 in this year in April 2025.
Okay, so for $9,000, you could get
An X-Men 1, like a 3.0.
you could get Daredevil 1 in probably a 7.5 for $9,000, maybe higher.
No, there's Joss Comics had one that he had at like 65. So
Yeah. For $9,000, you could get like a 7.0 copy of that Tech 122, the first Catwoman cover.
let me see what X-Men 1
Now, maybe
goes
you
for.
guys aren't interested in that one, but I would.
X-Men 1. X-Men 1's a pretty popular book.
Yeah, there you go.
For $9,000, you can get. Okay, interesting. 5.0 sold for 10.9 in March. A 4.5 sold for 13 in April.
Huh. Wow.
So a 4.0 sold for 86 in April. So you get a 4.0 X-Men 1.
In this condition right here.
Yeah. And a 4.0 X-Men 1 is like it's a nice book.
Yeah, it is. It is a nice book. So, yeah, wow. So yeah, isn't that, you know, so when you start comparing it to what you could get for it, it's hard to spend that kind of money on a book that like that.
Yeah. So,
But I appreciate your fire on it. You're like, Bone 1, get that out of here.
yeah, Albedo 2, a 9.8 sold for $28,000 in 2024. Let me see if there's any 2025 sales.
8,000.
9.0 sold for 6.2K in February.
Wow, that's a big gap. Wow.
And then Bone 1. Look for a 2025 sale here. 8.5 sold for $1,500 in January.
Yeah.
And a 9.8 sold for 11,000 in 2024 in October. So just 6-7 months ago.
That's an interesting thing you bring up, though, when you are going to invest in a book that you want to hold, or at least hold its value. You do have to think about, well, who's going to buy this book someday?
Yeah.
Who is it that's going to say, oh, I want that book. I'm willing to trade all the hours I spent making this money for that. It's people who have a connection to it.
Yeah.
And there aren't going to be a lot of people with a connection to those titles you just mentioned.
Yeah.
You're right.
So sorry.
So yeah, sorry everybody.
Sorry.
I agree
80s,
with
90s
with
kids.
Joshua on this one.
I think so. TMNT, the exception. I think somebody can definitely make a point for Usagi Yojimbo.
Yeah.
I think somebody can make a case because Stan Sakai is still out there. He goes to cons.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
He signs stuff. Usagi Yojimbo's got like a cult following. I think you definitely make a case. I don't think I would pay any of those prices.
I have a signed Sakai signed Usagi poster in my office.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it's cool. People say, oh, they like it. They like that character. But for the reasons that you say, all those other books aren't good investments, aren't good buys. It's the reason TMNT 1 is the perfect storm. It may actually be the most undervalued book around, even though it's worth so much, because it has all those rarities going for it that you associate with the indie books.
Yeah.
Low print run,
3,000 print
run. Not a lot of copies got preserved in high grade, and they reprinted a few, and even if you have a second or third printing, you're getting a lot of money for it. And it's transcended pop culture.
Yeah.
And it's getting passed on from generation to generation. How much more is that book going to be worth in 20 years, dude?
Yeah.
I don't think you could overpay for that book. I think that might be maybe we've come all this way to the end of the podcast to say this is the ultimate sleeper. The ultimate sleeper might be TMNT 1 in almost any grade if it's first print.
Yeah.
And you guys know this because if you're ever on claim sales, what's almost the number one question or number two question behind, do you have any 100 single digit Spider-Mans? That gets asked a lot, but always, do you have any turtles?
Yeah.
Always. Because there just aren't that many around.
Yeah.
Not many early turtles. Oh man, if I get my hands on a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1, and I missed the boat. I'm not a TMNT fan.
Yeah.
I was too old for that. But from a collector standpoint, an investor standpoint, if I get my hands on a high grade copy, like you said, a top 10% copy of that one, I don't think I could overpay. I think it would be a good investment no matter what. It's kind of like buying Fantastic Four 1 30 years ago. It didn't matter how much you paid for it.
Yeah. Let me see.
I'm not saying it's going to go as high as FF1, but it's a good analogy.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I'm pulling up the data for that one real quick.
Yeah, how much does it go for? What's the highest census for that book?
So a 9.8 sold for 87,000 in 2024.
So there is a 9.8 on the census. Wow.
March of 2025, a 9.2 sold for 14.4. So
yeah, that 14.4.
10K for 7.5.
The 14.4 is a crazy good price. I know that's weird because who's got 14,000 to spend? I mean, some people do, but I don't. But if you have money to invest, it's not a bad place to put it.
Wow, February 2010, a 3.5 sold for $433. I mean, this book just does not sell for under 10K. Like a 5.5 5.5 in March of 2022 sold for 10.5.
Oh my gosh.
It's like this book, I mean, like 8K really seems to be the floor. 6.5 of March of this year, 8.8K.
Yeah.
So this book holds.
Yeah, that's a great book to own. I'm never going to own it, but if you do own it and you're an investor, I wouldn't sell it. If I were you, I'd keep it. Now remember, this is not investment advice. Aren't we supposed to say that or something like that?
Yeah, this is not professional. We're not professional.
Yeah, don't sue us.
So, yeah.
But I'm confident that I would love to own that book as an investment.
Yeah, for sure.
If I got an opportunity to buy a high grade one, I might have to consider how I could pull it off.
Man, I don't know. I would even just be fine with like it. I mean, I don't know what you're considering high grade when you say that, but like a 7.0, 7.5.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. Just I have one last thing to say. And this is going to surprise you because it's just been, something dawned on me this week. I was sitting in my office and one of my coworkers comes in and he brought his little boy with him and he's walking in and I was like, he's cute. He's really cute. His name's Miles and I think he's 3 or 4. And he's all decked out in Spider-Man everything. Spider-Man t-shirt, Spider-Man backpack, Spider-Man toy. He's just all about it, right? And I just, just walked by and he's into Spider-Man. He's not been dressed up by his parents to be Spider-Man. he like I mentioned Spider-Man to him, he stops and he looks at me and like he's into it. And it occurred to me, as much as I love the Fantastic Four, I don't ever see that. I don't ever see someone walking around looking like Ben Grimm or the Human Torch, or I don't see little girls. My daughters didn't say, hey, for Halloween I want to be Sue Storm or like that. I want to be the invisible the Mr. Fantastic. That's not happening, and so I think. As much as I mean, I've got all these FFs and I love the FF and I've always been an FF collector. I think it may be coming close to time for me to move out of the FF and into something that's more that.
Wow.
And I don't think I'll do Spider-Man because
you heard it here first.
He's not my. I love Spider-Man, but he's not the one I want to do.
Yeah.
But can you guess what it would be? Given. It's. I mean, just take a shot. See if And when I explain to you, it'll make sense.
Hulk. Oh, Batman. Yeah, Batman. There you go.
Because I've already got.
Yeah.
A handful of Golden Age Batmans, but it wouldn't just be Golden Age. It would just be iconic Batman. So then I got all the amazing Bronze Age and Neil Adams stuff I could go after.
Yeah.
And I got, of course, the Silver Age stuff, which is some of it's pretty campy and not great, but there's some good stuff in there. But there's all the Golden Age stuff.
Yeah.
But if I was really going to do that, that's going to cost.
Yeah.
And whenever I look at my collection and go, well, what would I sell if I was going to try to pursue that? And it just occurred to me. That was what occurred to me. It's like, well, maybe it's time. Like, I'll wait for the FF movie to come out and see how it all goes and everything. But I'm not against actually liquidating my Fantastic Four collection and moving into one of these more my son's dressing up like this because he loves this character so much properties.
Well, maybe the FF becomes that.
I mean, that would be ideal.
Because, I mean, Marvel Rivals, I would say Invisible Woman is like, I think she's making a climb. Like, I think you could hear Dara say, if we were Halloween celebrators and like dress up every year, I wouldn't be surprised if Dara was like, oh, I'm going to be in Viz this year.
That would be cool. Well, what do you guys think?
She mains in Viz.
Let me know. Maybe they can tell me in chat I always say chat like we're live streaming, but in the comments, should I stay with FF or should I move into a character, DC or Marvel, that is even more transcendent than FF?
Here's what I think. I think you have a lot of FF. You have a lot of FF that I think you would be more willing to part with than you think. And I think you have a lot of FF that you'd prefer to keep. So I think you could probably get rid of probably half of your FF and not even really think about it the next day.
Yeah, my slabs and even my raws. Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously, like, you're probably, like, your top 10 FF and then, like, some of your big FF keys, like your 48 and 49, right? You're probably keeping, but, like, I don't know, a lot of the other, like, maybe not even all of the top 10s that you have, but.
Yeah, maybe not all the top 10s, but I would keep 12, I'd keep 48, I'd keep 52, I'd keep 49.
I also have a proposal for you. We'll talk about after.
Okay.
About that FF12.
All right.
So.
Intrigued.
Yeah. What you like had just brought up about like that kid being decked out in Spider-Man. When you're talking about like long term stuff, it really is the stuff that like just generation to generation is passed down and transcends pop culture in that sense that it's not relevant in this era. And that's why that's why we like so much of those like pop culture like references, because they're staples in time and they signify and they cement themselves. Like FF52 like cements itself as important, not just in comic book history but in history. Like that's another sleeper. Like that is like a crazy
that doesn't, it defies sense to me.
Yeah.
I probably ought to just go ahead and get another copy.
Yeah.
Even as I'm saying I'm liquidating my FF, but if I were to do that, but that would be a spec.
Yeah. And it's not a bad one.
No, it's
because I mean you saw little kids in 2018 when Black Panther came out who didn't have that representation for so many years.
That he was. It's just such a shame. He was just primed to become, just up to the next two levels. Just leveling up, and still can.
Yeah. So.
All right.
And about the census count, right? Like, oh, not a lot of these are printed. I'm not even sure census count even really matters because, right, you say like, oh, there's a low census count, or oh, there's only X amount graded higher. I think actually you can make an argument for like there's only so many graded higher here. I think that's probably a better argument to make. But saying there's a low census count, it's like, when does that mean something and when doesn't it mean something? Because it's like with these indie books, it means everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, only X amount were printed, only a fraction of those were graded. But it's like, how many Hulk 181s are on the census? How many giant size X-Men 1s are on the census? How many Ultimate Fallout 4s are on the census?
And those books are hot every single time they get.
Like, it doesn't matter. Like, nobody cares about the census when it comes to those books. No. Why? Because those books transcend.
That's right.
Everything. And they're a level above. It doesn't matter that there's 4 million copies of Hulk 181 and that you can just open your eyes one morning and wake up and be like, today I'm going to buy a Hulk 181, and then you can buy it that day. Like
no, it's called they're lizard brain books. They're books that doesn't matter what the logic says. Everybody wants it.
Yeah.
Because they want it.
Yeah.
And the lizard brain gets what it wants.
Yep.
And I even feel it because I don't own Hulk 181. I don't own X-Men Giant Size 1. And every single time I see it on a claim sale, I think the same thing. I really want that book.
Same. I think sometimes it's not even like seeing it for sale. Sometimes I'll just like see the cover. Like, I've been like bagging and boarding like the Hulk books from that collection recently.
Yeah.
And it didn't have 180 or 181. And so I'm like I'll look up and just like see the cover because I think it's a really cool cover.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe I do want this book. But what I do to convince myself out of it every time is I go to look at the price for a 2.5 and see that it's a $2,500 book, and I'm like, that's too much. It makes no sense.
I know.
Like, I just can't justify it. And maybe I'm countering myself because it's like it's something that transcends, but it's just like it's just crazy.
It's something. Okay, I think I have the answer for us. That's a book that somebody has to give it to you as a gift. That's the only way.
Yeah, truly. I couldn't.
Right? And for me, so I tell you what, for Christmas, let's make a deal. you get me Hulk 181 and I'll get you X-Men Giant Size 1.
Oh, goodness. Okay, that book, I mean, shoot, I could do a whole video on why that book is ridiculous. I would lump in everything I just said about Cerebrus and all those books. I would throw Giant Size X-Men 1 in with those. That book will never make sense to me.
But we can't each get each other a Hulk 181. That our wives won't go for it. We got to figure something. So maybe it doesn't have to be Giant Size 1. What would you want? But we both want Hulk 181. That's the lizard brain book.
That would be it. Yeah, well, I just couldn't. Yeah, yeah. I can understand and appreciate and respect 181, which maybe I might not have been able to say a year ago, but not like I can now.
Yeah.
Giant Size X-Men 1, I don't think you can convince me into that book. It's just a second appearance of everybody.
It's the first appearance Nightcrawler
Storm,
and
Colossus.
Storm
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Colossus. So it's. But
The new X-Men.
But why is X-Men 94 suddenly on everybody's hot list?
Yeah, that book is also.
That's-
I see that book on claim sales, and I'm like, oh gosh.
It's really hot right now. And when I started collecting, X-Men 94 was more sought after than Giant Size 1. And then Giant Size 1 caught up to X-Men 94, and then it's way gone past it now. Way gone past it.
Yeah.
As it should. But 94 is not the first appearance of anything.
Yeah.
It's just okay, we're not printing reprints anymore.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Yeah.
But it's got that nostalgia.
Is Chris Claremont on that one or no?
I think he is, yeah, on that. I think that because Byrne didn't get into 108. So, but anyway, we could happy birthday, Joshua. Look, I got you X-Men 181. You're gonna go, oh, I can't believe it. Look, I got you the same thing.
I got you
Yours is a 6.5 white pager just like mine. Awesome.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't. It's a weird hobby.
It is.
It's really what it is. It's just what you like.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
I would just. It feels weird to be a comic collector and never have possessed Hulk 181. It's weird. I've owned 180. I've never owned a 181. And back when it was listed in Overstreet Price Guide for $75, I was collecting. I never saw it for sale for $75 anywhere. I never ever saw that book. When it was at $75, I never saw it come up for sale anywhere.
Yeah.
It's not like I walked into a comic shop and it was up on a wall for $75 and I said no. I don't think it was ever a $75 book, to be honest with you. I don't think so. I think it's the same as it's ever been. When that book's for sale, people buy it.
Yeah.
It doesn't stay for sale very long.
Yeah.
Just happen to be so many of them that it turns over all the time.
That's what's crazy to me is I see this book being sold all the time and people buying it all the time. And I'm like,
Where are they coming from?
Like, yeah, well, one, yeah, where are they coming from? But two, how does everybody not already have this book? Like, if you want, like, how do people still want this book? It's crazy to me. I don't understand it.
Multiple copies, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe that's what happens. You start wanting, more and more of them. I could sort of see that.
Yeah.
I have I think 22 copies of Moon Knight 15 or 16. I can't remember all of a sudden, but it's the one with the black and white cover.
Yeah.
And I'm like, anytime I see one, I'm going to get more of them.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I don't know, but
because it's cheap.
When you get back, we'll have like Torpedo Con coming up. It'll be like con season when you get back.
Well, last time I went to Europe, I came back the very next day. We went to a Comic-Con and you had texted me and I said, I literally said to him, there's no way I'm going to be able to go to a convention with you that the very next day. Cause I'm going to be asleep. Like how you felt when you guys got back from the Far East.
Yeah.
Just exhausted. And then I think that night I'm like, I think I want to go.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean,
and I had a great time. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Con season is fun. I actually prefer the smaller cons. I really do. I like this. I like the Torpedo Con. I'm not, I don't know how I feel about like the big WonderCon, LA Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con stuff as much anymore.
I remember last year. So last year I made that Death of Comic Con video, and that was because of my 2024 WonderCon experience. And I said at the end of the video I wasn't going to go, and I wasn't going to go. But if your friend hadn't come to town, I think neither of us would have gone.
No, but with my friend, it was like that was it became fun again because going with him, and it was amazing. So and we might make that he might make that an annual pilgrimage, and if he does, cool. then we'll always go. But I really do like the small ones, because you just never know what you're gonna find.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have the Comics and Cocktail. You might be gone for that actually. It might be like super close to when you get back, or like you might be gone for it. But that Comics and Cocktails, that one got shifted around because of the LA fires, because that was supposed to be in like January.
Yeah.
But then they had to reschedule it. So I may be at that one all by myself.
I'll be thinking of you. I'll be sipping a cappuccino under the Duomo in Florence. Sun. Yes, right, under the Tuscan sun.
Yeah, So, all right, we'll be back next week.
Yeah.
Things will look a little bit different, but it'll be us. And yeah, we got to figure out how to do it first.
Yeah,
But
I'm sure
we'll figure it out. It should be easy.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you next week.
Yeah. See you later.
Bye.